Every time we solve a murder, that's when the next body drops. It's like when one murder door closes, someone we know either gets stabbed, poisoned, or shot.
Why would you say that?
What is up, nerdtectives? Welcome back to another episode of Nerds at Night. I am your host, Blake Money Blakeweather, the world's most okayest detective. And how are you all doing? I've missed y'all, and I'm doing great. And I'm so glad that we're here in our finale week to dissect the case and talk all about... Now, I want to get into my thoughts about this episode, but real quick, I just kind of want to change something real quick. So hang on, bear with me real quick. I want to just kind of do something special for y'all. So let me see if I can get this right. All right, hang on real quick. So 1, 2, well, would you look at that? Not too shabby, huh? Given that this is our last episode together, I kind of wanted to dress up for y'all, right? Like, let's go out with a bang. That's what the kids say, right? Or go big and go home. I think the kids are saying that too. But now let's get right into my thoughts for this episode. My first thoughts here are, dear writers.
I got a lot of problems with you people. Now you're gonna hear about it.
What the hell was that, right? I'll say this. I enjoyed the second half of this episode way more than I enjoyed the first part of this episode, right? There were so many incongruencies. There were so many unanswered questions. There were so many plot holes. And I'll get into a lot of this with all my questions after the end of the recap, but just like, what the hell was that? I mean, I'll say this. We got it right? We got Marshall. He did the script thing, right? He stole Saz's script. He killed Saz. We all saw this coming. This shouldn't be a big shocker to anybody, right? I also realized I didn't button one of the little buttons. We'll leave it. We'll leave a little. We'll show a little skin for TV or whatever, right? Whatever the kids are doing, I don't know. But yeah, we all saw it was Marshall. We all knew it was Marshall. He was top of our suspect list. We all thought there was a second killer though, and there wasn't. Y'all got to show, right? But also, it would have made so much more sense if there was a second killer. Like, was there originally a second killer maybe in the script that they were writing for this whole show? And did the writers, the whole where they took the time off and they were striking or whatever, did that sort of impact the show? Because it kind of feels like it on the second half. Like maybe they had the first half written or had part of it written, and then they came back and were like, what were we writing again, right? What were we saying? What happened? I don't remember what happened, right? In the words of who was it? Bill O'Reilly, it will go live, right? Wasn't that the thing? That's what it felt like. It felt just sort of jumbled all together. How were we supposed to guess that Marshall was a hunter and they never told us? There was no hint about it. You know what they should have done? I'm going to tell you what they should have done. They should have had like some script that like Bev was talking about some script writer gave her a script that had, a kid who was a hunter and his dad made him a hunter or whatever the story was. You see how frustrated I am? I can't even, but like there should have been some sort of mention about this script that was floating around. Hey, did this script was the only murder script is way better than this other script that we got about this kid who his dad was a hunter and he was a hunter and he didn't want to be a hunter, right? Like they should have mentioned something. So we would have heard this sort of hint, be like, oh, that's weird that they mentioned that. Well, I wonder if that's ever going to come into play. Just like they did with the Rex Bailey line, right? Such a throwaway line in episode 4. And then they come back to it. That's how you do a good callback, right? That's how you write it. I'm saying this like I write shows. I don't. I do watch a lot of murder mysteries though. I break them down. That's what I do, right? I could see the glaring holes where there should have been clues or some sort of nod or something, and there wasn't. So yeah, that's sort of my biggest gripe with the show as a whole and with this reveal, because the reveal happened and was sort of like, that's it. Like, did anybody feel like this was like, when M. Night Shyamalan released The Sixth Sense, and then he did Unbreakable, and it was like, all right. And then he did like Signs, and you're like, all right. And then he did The Village, like, was that movie number 4 or something? And then you're like, what the shit was this? What is this? What are you doing? It's trash and a half. That's what this is. What in the world are you thinking? What is going on? That was ironically, I think that was his 4th movie. Wasn't this number is 4th season, right? Oh, okay. I'm starting to see a trend here, right? The plot twist by the time you hit 4, like what all you do is like, okay, there's the killer. The end. That is complete trash. Again, I just have a big problem with the review. And even though we got it right, like I should be so happy. I should be like, guys, I'm so happy we got it right. Like, let's celebrate. I can't fake the funk though. I can't do it, babies. I cannot do this. I might be the world's most okayest detective, but I cannot be okay with this. You know what I mean? But let me talk about what I did like. I loved the wedding. A thing that I like that I don't think a lot of people are going to call out. I liked the cinematography about this episode. Whoever they had for the director of photography, there was some beautiful, I am talking beautiful shots in this episode. I think some of the wedding shots are great. I think some of the scenes with Saz where she was talking with Marshall, I think those were done great. There is a scene, I'll put it in right here, where her and Marshall are across in her condo, like they're on one side, she's on one side and he's on the other. Bro, that shot is so dope. And then there's another one where they're like this close together, like she's right in front of him. That's a great shot. There's some great shots that are in this episode. So like, I got to celebrate that win, right? So yeah, that's a thing I enjoyed right there. Also, the comedic bits, they hit hard in this episode. I laughed a lot. Genuinely, I laughed a lot during this episode. It was super good. And it was good too. The guy that played Marshall, Rex Marshall, whoever we want to call him, RM, MR, Mr. or RM, whoever we want to call him. The guy that played him, such a great range, right? To go from like, as the scene that showed it for me was when he's sniping and he's like, I can't do it. And then he snaps in and then he can do it. He's in killer mode. That was really dope. Now that we know his trauma, like there is this whole like really cool thing that we see with this character. I just really wish they would have like introduced some nods in that direction. They could have done it with different characters. So that way we don't catch on that like Marshall's the killer and that we know the most about his background, but they should have introduced some nods sooner, right? We would have loved to hear about some kid that had trauma in the past, and we don't know who it is. Again, the whole script thing, that would have been perfect. We could have introduced that in episode 3, 4, 5, 6, somewhere around the way, right? Somewhere in the middle, but some sort of nod toward trauma, because we see that he's struggling with this trauma. He's struggling with trying to please his dad and trying to impress his dad. Boy got daddy issues, right? But which one of us doesn't that goes to therapy? Maybe old Marshall should have gone to therapy. He wouldn't have died, right? He would have shot nobody. So you got daddy issues, go to therapy. Don't go to BetterHelp. Go to Sondermind. Whole different story. Way cheaper. They say it's way cheaper. Anyways, this episode sponsored by Sondermind. I'm just saying that because that's where I go to therapy. It's great. Anyways, outside of that, they should have introduced some elements like that. I would have loved to see that. But I can't say overall that this is my least favorite episode of the whole season. I'd have to get back to you on it. It might be the Doreen episode. There wasn't really a whole bunch that happened. And even the stuff that the actors figured out, we didn't need it right now. We don't need it right now. Another episode that I was like, man, not too fond of, but it was right at the end was episode 3. Remember I told y'all that was kind of a filler episode. And, I said that was a filler episode. And so was episode 7 when they go to Doreen's, and somebody in the comments was like upset and was like, I'm unsubscribing because it's not a filler episode. Bro, it's a filler. It's okay. It's okay. Shows have filler episodes. Potholes have filler in them. You hate the pothole that has filler in it? Now you could drive correctly on it. You got to have filler sometimes. Put some filler in your teeth. You hate the filler in your teeth when they fill it and you got a cavity? Bro, filler is necessity sometimes, and it's a-okay. But yeah, overall, I mean, again, it was the ending. I'm glad the way that they set up season 5. That was dope. Also, R.I.P. to Lester. Who saw that coming? That's sad. Everybody thought Lester was a killer, and then he ends up dying. And I loved how the meta-ness of this episode where they called out that Loretta was going to die. Like twice they did that joke. And then she didn't die. It's funny that they called it out because they all saw that. At least they knew enough to know that's the direction that we were going to see, or that was sort of the implication we were going to have going into this last episode. So good call out for them. That was nice. Also seeing Jan do her thing, that's dope. But also she hates snipers. So why is she using a sniper? I don't know. I got a lot of questions. I don't want to focus on the negative anymore. But yeah, I enjoyed it for what it was. Probably I'll need to revisit some of the other seasons. I did just watch season 3 ahead of this season. Really enjoyed that. That still holds up. No, I didn't go all the way through season 1. I started a little bit, but I remember enjoying season 1 a lot. So probably 1, 3, and like I'll need to rewatch 2, see if 2 or 4, because so far the way that they ended this is my least favorite ending of all the seasons, right? Just because of this episode. The killer reveal, right? Not that Marshall was the killer, but just how they landed the plane. It was sort of a little bumpy ride, right? And maybe a wheel fell off or something. You got to the terminal okay eventually, right? But like there was boy, it was bouncy on the way down. That's all I'm saying. And I'm not the only one that feels like this. And I'm glad people in the comments, and we'll get to those in a bit. I'm glad people in the comments feel that way. I'm glad other YouTubers I feel a bit validated, right? I came out this episode and I'm like, damn, like people might hate me because I got some words to say about this. But no, everybody's like in agreement for the most part that like it's kind of a little too much. It's like a cheese that got aged just a little. There's a little too much funk on this cheese, right? Little too much funk on this. I gotta do something funky with my eyes and my nose right there. It's hitting me in my tingly bits, and I don't like that. Not when cheese does it. Not the way that's doing it. Yeah, it was just weird. It was just sort of weird. But the second half, really enjoyed. What did y'all think about this episode? Let me know all your thoughts in the comments. Just give me all the thoughts, right? I've seen some of y'all post like paragraphs. I'll read all that shit. And then I'll comment a thought. And sometimes it's another paragraph back. We've been playing virtual tennis with paragraphs, and it's so much fun. So I want to know all of your thoughts when it comes to this episode. And anything that you thought stood out to you. Was there a funny line, a funny moment, a question that you have that was not answered? Let me know everything in the comments that you thought about this episode. So let's get to the rest of the episode. So for one last time, for sentimental reasons, I'm going to go over our rules for solving a murder mystery. I'm going to do a recap with a lot of questions that I have left over from the season. For sure, going to read some of y'all's comments from the last week because we had some fire ones. And then for one last time, we are going to go to our suspect board. We're not moving anybody. We're just going to see how we did. And it's going to be a bittersweet moment because I love looking at that thing. I love moving people around with y'all. And so, yeah, but for one last time, we're going to give it the old looky-loo and see how we did. Now, for old time's sake, again, we're going to go over our rules for solving a murder mystery because we know murder mysteries have rules that they follow, and we, of course, have rules that we follow. But what are these rules, you might ask? For one last time this season, say them with me. Rule number 1, you got to have suspects. Rule number 2, you got to have clues. Rule number 3, you got to have motivation. Rule number 4, you got to have opportunity. And always rule number 5, you have to have red herrings. With those rules in mind, let's go through our recap from this week's episode and ask all of the questions at the end of it. Grab a coffee, grab a beer, grab a whiskey, and let us begin. Our finale episode begins with a flashback on the set of Brazos, where we see Saz performing a stunt for Charles. While recovering, Saz gets inspired to try her hand at writing. We see her listening to the Only Murders podcast and typing her script, which turns out is the original version of the Only Murders in the Building movie. In the present, Charles and Oliver come to Charles's place and debrief about what they learned about Rex. They get a threatening text from Mabel's phone, but it's not from Mabel. The duo looks through the window to Mabel's apartment and sees she's being held hostage by Marshall. Mabel tries to escape, but Marshall stops her and she realizes Marshall stole Saz's script and killed Saz. Marshall then admits to killing Saz and Glenn.
I hate that I accidentally shot Zach Galifianakis. He's so funny in The Hangover.
Mabel admits defeat but tries to buy time by helping Marshall finish the rewrites. Charles figures out that Marshall used the ledge to come to his place and clean up Saz's body. Oliver suggests they go on the ledge from Vince's apartment.
That is the first good pitch you've had since this whole thing started.
It took 4 seasons, but now I'm cooking with gas.
The duo bypasses Lester and Oliver bumps into Loretta and has her go to his place to lay low. Charles and Oliver interrupt Vince and Rudy's workout, and Charles informs Vince he's going out of his window on the ledge to save Mabel next door. While Charles is on the ledge, he has a moment of panic, but Oliver comes to back him up. They figure out a good way to shimmy to Mabel's window and finally make it. As the duo makes it to the window, they realize someone else is ringing the doorbell to the apartment. We find Rudy and Vince distracting Marshall at the door, and Charles and Oliver sneak inside. Charles uses Eva Longoria's 1901 face facial toner as a weapon, and him and Oliver disarm Marshall. Charles asks why Marshall killed Saz, and Mabel tells him it's because Marshall stole the script from Saz. Marshall explains he tried to be a legit writer, but nothing he wrote made it big. He explains his dad was a hunter and taught him how to shoot, and he was very good at it. He explains that Saz had him read the original version of the Only Murders in the Building script. In a flashback, Marshall lies to Saz and informs her the script is no good and asks for a copy to go through it in more detail. He also says Marshall is a fake name.
Eventually, I landed on Marshall P. Pope, which is awesome.
Is it though?
Sounds like a judge.
Rex says he stole the script and sent it to everyone and didn't expect it to get greenlit or fast-tracked. In a flashback, Saz invites Rex over to let him know that she found out he stole the script. Saz is deeply hurt and disappointed that Marshall would do such a thing.
Bev Mellon from Paramount? She bought our script.
This is not ours.
Saz said she wanted to get Charles's permission before shopping the script around. Saz lets Rex know she doesn't trust him anymore, and she says she's going to see Charles in the play the next day, and she's going to tell him what's going on afterwards. Rex is kicked out of Saz's, but remembers the details about the Dudenoff apartment in Saz's original draft, and he decides to take a red-eye flight to New York. He remembers the Dudenoff apartment code, sets up shop in the apartment, and waits for Saz. Rex has doubts he can take the shot, but snaps back to killer mode. He takes the shot and runs across the ledge to get rid of Saz's body. Once Rex is done with his story, he disarms Oliver and holds the trio at gunpoint. Suddenly, Rex is shot.
No fucking way.
The trio returns to Charles's apartment and the police are arresting Jan. Jan says she's been hiding in the secret tunnels waiting for the trio to find the killer so she could kill whoever it was.
I ate a bunch of your pirate booty when I was in hiding. I'll Venmo you $8.
Call it even for serial killing our serial killer.
Jan is taken away and the trio visit the movie set.
Little do they know, the bodies just keep on dropping.
Oh, there you go again, saying Loretta's gonna get murdered.
The trio catches up with the actors and Bev approaches Mabel about the meeting she set up for her podcast ideas. Mabel says she's not interested and is working on something about Saz. Charles then has a catch up with his imagined version of Saz and is finally able to take a compliment about himself from himself.
It's been a long day. Let him talk to himself.
We then see Oliver's wedding festivities and Loretta is escorted to the altar by Dickie and Will. The ceremony is gorgeous and proceeds without any hiccups or dead bodies. After the wedding, we see people dancing and having a good time, and Loretta and Oliver discuss their move to New Zealand. Mabel and Charles head up to Charles's apartment and bump into an inquisitive new character looking for them.
I want to hire you to find my husband. It's urgent. My husband is Nicky Cacciamilio, or was, if you believe the news.
We've heard this name before.
He has ties to the Caputo crime family. Officials say they do not suspect foul play at this time.
We only investigate murders in the building.
What happened to Nicky has everything to do with this building.
Mrs. Cacciamilio leaves her card with the duo in case they want to take up the case.
It's quite a dame. In the same way that Judi Dench is a dame.
Good save.
Oliver says his goodbyes to Loretta as she heads to New Zealand, and Charles wraps up the latest episode of the podcast with the trio. They walk around the courtyard and find Lester's dead body in the fountain, which is now bloodied. And now we have our next case to solve. As we wrap up this season, there's still some things I'd like to know. Who was in Saz's condo when the trio was there in the first episode?
Saz, you there?
Also, what the hell do these numbers mean on Saz's desk? Next, how was Rex in Dudenoff's apartment for such a long time when the brother-sisters say they were in the same apartment that night as well?
Where were you the night Saz Pataki was murdered?
We were here in the Arconia.
So you were in his apartment that night?
Yes, we got in using the password he always used.
How did Bev know about Saz's park? And whose gun did she have? Speaking of guns, where the hell did Rex get a gun from? And a double where the hell from Jan? Where did she get her gun from? If Marshall had Saz's phone the whole time, are we to believe he planted the cameras in Oliver's apartment?
Whose camera is this? It's from Saz's phone.
We know that Saz's phone was connected to the cameras, so if that's the case, why wouldn't Rex be better at rewrites if he could hear the trio's conversations? Who gave a note to Lester to fix the window? Was that Rex as well? Also, if Rex had a heel injury...
This was the one where that shite fucker Rex Bailey got his heel blown off teaching Johnny Knoxville how to get fired out of a cannon.
How could he finagle around the ledge so easily? Also, why the hell would he wear Ron Howard's shoes just to shoot the gun? Couldn't he just shoot in his regular shoes? Did they give him better shooting superpowers? Additionally, why did he bring the fire vest with him when he didn't even use it? One more thing about the shoes. We do know the shoes and the footprint still don't match, right? I mean, look at the gap on the real shoes compared to the footprint that we have. The spacing is so different between the two. Also, back to footprints, are we saying in episode 5 that both times we see the footprint on the tacky mat that they were from Tawny Brothers? Because Rex had a completely different pair of shoes on during the photo shoot. Also, how did Rex have enough time to make it from the photo shoot to a sniper spot somewhere across the street? You see, during the photo shoot, we see Rex behind Mabel and Charles as they think about the two killer theory. A minute and a half after that, Glenn is shot. So let's break this down. Marshall leaves the building, goes to get his gun, finds a sniper spot in the building across the street, is able to find a clean shot, and finally takes it, all under a minute and a half? My last question is, why do the writers hate us this season? I might be the world's most okayest detective, but even I can tell there are so many plot holes and unanswered questions that are never answered. Instead, the writers gave us a swift answer in the finale and left us all scratching our heads, wondering what the answers for all the unanswered questions were all along.
I guess we'll never know.
So those are my thoughts and a lot of the questions that I had from this episode. But what about y'all? Let me know again. Any thoughts, any comments, any questions, anything lingering still from this season that it didn't cover, let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear from all of y'all. And speaking of y'all's thoughts, y'all really know how to brighten my mood. So in the words of Conor McGregor,
baby, we done it. We're rich, baby.
I had to put that because this is the third time this season that I'm about to say what I'm about to say. And it's also the second week in a row that I'm about to say what I'm about to say. But last week's episode, bar none, was the most commented episode from the entire season, and y'all just deserve the biggest round of applause. Y'all showed up and showed out and blew up the comments. I really think y'all just want me to cry on camera, right? Y'all really just want me to cry on camera, and it's very emotional, right, to see something like that, especially with the community that we've built together. I don't have the words. If there's a YouTuber out there that has the words, reach out to me and let me know the words, because I don't have the words when you realize that there's such a big impact within the community that you've built up and connected people with and connected with people. It's beyond what words can describe. And y'all impress me week after week. Y'all continue to blow me away. And I thank y'all. Like, seriously, thank y'all so much. Y'all probably got like 1 million thanks across this entire season because of how well y'all treat me. And I really appreciate it. Like, from the bottom of my dark little heart. It's not dark, but from the bottom of my heart, I really appreciate it. And I love every single one of y'all for doing it. I wish I could have drinks with all of y'all and we could just have a dandy time. If I ever meet one of y'all, I'm buying y'all the first round. It's incredible. And I just need to highlight that, because not everybody gets to share in that with community. And so it's so humbling. It's so moving. It really is. So yeah, I don't have enough thank yous to thank you, but thank you. Seriously. Thank you so much. Also, before we get to the comments, I just need to remind you, Ivan Montero will be on next week. That episode is dropping next Wednesday. We're going to record it on Monday. So get in all of your comments on this episode right here whenever it drops. That's Monday the 4th. We're going to be recording it at the nighttime. So if you're like, oh, I need to get my comment in and it's the morning and I'm not going to make it. No, you have until nighttime. About 8:30 Central. We're going to be recording it. So get your comment in before then. The episode should be dropping on November 6th. It'll cheer up everybody from this political stuff that's going on. Let's not even talk about that, right? The world's crazy. We need a lot more laughter. We need a lot more joy. And so hopefully it should bring some joy to your life. Hopefully we can make y'all smile. Also, if you're not already following Ivan, do that. I can't wait for his finale video. We talked earlier, and he's got some interesting thoughts and interesting theories. So again, I'm going to put his channel in the description of this if you're not already following him. A lot of y'all are, right? A lot of y'all reached out. We're like, hey, I listened to you and I listened to Ivan, or I listened to Ivan and I listened to you. So it's really great having that overlap of community, because it's a small world of people breaking down only murders, like really breaking it down, not just sitting in front of a camera and being like, all right, let me shittily describe to you a recap of this episode and then say if it has an A or B, or if I'm doing a number scale. Like, right, we don't need none of that. Nobody cares. Nobody likes that. Nobody cares about that, right? Ivan's energy, I can't wait. I really cannot wait to have him on. So look out for that episode. But for now, that's enough announcements. Again, if I don't move on, y'all gonna make me cry. So let's get right into the comments. Our first comment comes in from Sherry7054. Marshall gets shot through a closed blind and he was shot dead. How's that possible? The story was stupid almost the whole season. No connections between Marshall and his father. Then all of a sudden at the end, we hear about it. The trio really don't figure it out, but he confesses. That seemed odd. He sure is no good writer or good stuntman. Maybe there was a knot in there. Sherry, love this comment because I felt that way, right? That was what I was saying. I had a lot of questions like, how the hell did that work? And then they explained it away with Jan being like, I can see through real small slits. Bro, who can do that? Who says that? That's not real language. What are you talking about? And I get it. The show is made up, yada, yada. Blake, don't take it serious. But also, they have framed this in a world of realism, right? Like, there's not like scary monsters and ghouls and goblins and ghosts and shit jumping out. These are real people killing each other. Their gravity exists, right? Blood exists. Rules of physics exist in this world of only murders. And this shit almost didn't make no sense. And they explained it away with the line. Like, bro, again, the writer strike really had to impact this. And shout to Ivan for bringing it up to me because it had to. Like, some of this stuff just, the connections don't be connecting. You know what I mean? Make it make sense. That's all. Make it make sense because it does not make a whole bunch of that right now. And again, I would have loved some sort of father connection with Marshall or some sort of script that was in Hollywood that people weren't going for, but was mentioned a couple times because we could have been like, oh, right. Like the script. Why do you keep bringing it up? Oh my God. Marshall is a writer. He wrote that script. Oh, it's about him. Oh my gosh. Right? Like something, but nothing. There was nothing. What are we doing? So yeah, great comment right there, Sherry. Our next comment comes in from Azure52. The show is watchable due to Steve Martin and Martin Short's charm and funny banter. The whole season was weak on intelligent clues and continuing the buildup. Marshall accepting that he's a killer, just like his father said, is so foolish and out of character. Why did he agree to help the trio? Yeah, that's a great question. I didn't feel like there was a lot of setup with Marshall, right? We guessed him very, very, very early. Like episode 1, we guessed him, but I couldn't quite put my finger on why I suspected Marshall. Like he's a fly on the wall and bada, but like we didn't get a whole bunch of stuff. And even in his episode, I mean, we got that he was faking the funk, but like we didn't see how deep the rabbit hole went. There's nobody that could have said that there's clues in here that pointed to a script. Like you had to just sort of infer based on your experience, right? And based on your own perspective, because the average person didn't pick up and infer like, oh, you know what? Like he was probably a hunter and he was probably a script writer. And, you know, his dad was probably the one that pushed him and whatever, you know, trauma, yada, yada. There's no way you could have known that without adding all these, without just like throwing, you know, something at the wall and hoping it sticks and being like, that might be it, but also it might not be. There's no way you could have known with 100% certainty that that's the way that it was going to go because they didn't line up enough clues to point in that direction. So again, this is two people that have seen this episode, came to the comments and are complaining just as much as I am about like, how the hell did we get here? I don't understand. But notice nobody's complaining about the wedding. Everybody probably loved the wedding. Did anybody cry? I kind of, that was kind of a little tearjerker moment, right? But great comment right there, Azure 52. Our next comment comes in from Kenya1326. I'm going to read part of this, right? Because it's a long, you can read it in the comments, but there's a part of this that I really want to get to. I just watched the last episode and I'm okay with it. Not totally satisfied. I feel like Marshall's story was forced. I don't think we ever got good clues that gave him true motive. The big bad thing he did was burn Ron's eyebrows. He had a passion for writing, but his dad wanted him to be a hunter. Where did we see a hint for that? Yeah, this is what I'm saying. Like, this is 3 people in a row. Like, where were the clues? Like, there's nothing indicating that he was ever a hunter. If anything, we guessed Rudy was a hunter, right? The deer hoof and the wallpaper with the hunting, whatever. That absolutely could, that would have been way better if they were to like, oh, he's a hunter. It's like, yeah, the clues were there in our face. Like that makes sense. But Marshall, no indication, no anything. Like it felt real shambly put together, right? And again, I'm not the only one who noticed this. Kenya, it's a great call out. You said in your comment, not totally satisfied. That's how I felt. Like as soon as the season ended, as soon as this episode ended, I was like, that's it. You know what it felt like? And I'll talk about I have a funny story for you. My dad took me one time to like this place, and it was like this 10 course fancy, maybe 12 courses, 15 courses. It was closer to 12, 13 courses. These little small ass plates, right? And they put this little, whatever. This is a marble glaze reduction on a pork, whatever. Yeah, pork belly, Oh, bro, this fancy food shit. And I was like, it was very good food, very great presentation. It was so great. However, I left that dinner and I told my dad as soon as he was paying, I was just like, Dad, are you still hungry? Like, I'm still, who is this supposed to feed? Like, I'm a growing boy. What are we doing here? I say I'm a growing boy. This was like 4 years ago, but but still, like it felt not satisfying. Like it looked good on the plate, but when I digested everything and got to the end of the meal, I was like, that didn't hit the way I thought. You want to know what I did? On my way home, I grabbed me a Pizza Hut. Followed up a 13-course meal with a Pizza Hut. They're small. They're small little things. Like if you ever see like the movie The Menu or whatever, any sort of fancy like whatever, these small. Who is this feeding? These people are still. Be real. If you ever go to a place like that, you are still hungry. What are we doing here? All that to say, Kenya, that's how it felt. I feel you. And that's the way I walked away with. Great comment right here. Our next comment comes in from Amber Prince. Just want to say I love your vibe and your videos. I have looked forward to them each week. Thank you so much, Amber. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. I do try to put out good vibes only or whatever. Not that. I don't do all that. But I do try to put out some good vibes. I make fun of the kids all the time. I don't know who these kids are. I just been making fun of them. But I appreciate it. I do just try to keep it a buck, Chuck. You know what I mean? I try to keep it real, and I don't try to sugarcoat things, and I don't try to wishy-washy. We're just like we're having a conversation, like we was having a beer with any one of y'all. Like this is the type of shit I'd be talking about, right? This is how I would say things, and I'm so glad that comes across and it keeps you entertained. Thank you so much, Amber. I really appreciate it. Our next comment comes in from Zynan94. The nurse is super sus for sure. Also, as an Irish person, I feel those accents are a crime. I'm still not sure if Marshall is the one who killed Saz or if Glenn is actually dead. The case of beer has to mean a cold case is in the next season's focus. I have no idea how they're going to wrap up, and I hope we get to see some family members at the wedding. Well, Zynan94, we did get to see some family members at the wedding, at least Dickie and Will, and that was pretty cool. Also, shout outs to the Irish, man, calling out the accents. That's been a thing. It seems like it's been a funny thing that's been called out, right? Paul Rudd's ridiculous Irish accent. It's comical, right? But I've had a couple of Irish people throughout the episodes, and they'd be like, that doesn't sound real, or that sounds so generic, or that sounds so off. So yeah, again, just calling it out. It's funny, but also don't go practicing that, because it will not be any dialect that is actual, like, from Ireland. So I told the whole story about the Irish kids I met on a few episodes ago. So go check that out if you want to. I think it was in episode 4, or maybe 5. I don't know. It was back in the day. But anyways, yeah, it's funny. That's a funny bit about the accent. Also, turns out Marshall was the one who killed Saz. So we got, and Glenn. Man, Glenn is actually dead. Paul Rudd died 3 times. Count them 3 times. Remember, he did die the first time. He said he had to get paddled back to life, or they had to, you know what I'm saying? They had to give him the old, you know what I'm saying? So he died 3 times. He's died 3 times. Also, good shout out on the cold case, because we do have one right in front of us for this new season. So good shout right there, man. Good comment right here. Appreciate it. Our next comment comes in from Vicente Mariani 8730. But I don't think it's Rudy. He seems completely innocent and a nice guy. Vicente, you are very right. You are very right. Like, he is a completely nice guy, and you know what? He'll help you work out if you want to. You know, if you're neighbors, he'll come over. He'll come live with you. So he's a cool bro in my book. So good call out right there. Our next comment comes in from Sunflower Divinity. Yeah, I'm wondering if Marshall could have done this shot, because how would he have Dudenoff's code? Only the Westies know the code. So that was an interesting way to tie in the fact that he knew the Dudenoff code, because it was in the original draft of the script that he was like, hey, we need to cut this out. But imagine the movie, right, set up with the Dudenoff case. I wonder how they would have tried to, like, tie it in to the movie if the movie's based on season 1. If it would have just been sort of, hey, we need to pay attention to this because this is going to come into play in a later movie or something like that. I wonder how that tie-in happened actually in the script. But that's how he found out, which do we buy it, right? Do we actually? I mean, it happened, but like, I mean, I don't know. It seemed kind of weak. It just seemed a little too contrived, right? It seemed a little like, oh shit, like if you're the writer, you're like, oh shit, how did Marshall get in there? You're like, well shit, I guess he knew the code because it was in the script. And they're like, yeah, that's perfect. Let's do it. So it seems like the only way that would have made sense, but good call out right there, Sunflower Divinity. And our last comment comes in from Yana477. Thanks for the shout out. So I only started watching YouTube videos for the show this season. First, I found Matt and Jess, then yours. And when you made your analogy of their channel and yours in the mid-season comments theories, I immediately agreed and have been looking forward to your review each week. First of all, thank you so much, Yana477. I'm always happy to be found. I don't know the right way. Like when people stumble across the channel, I'm like, hey, let's all hang. You want to talk about Only Murders? Let's talk about Only Murders. So I'm always excited. All right. I'm always excited when somebody new finds the channel. And for those that don't know, go back to that mid-season, the comments and the theories video. It was a lot of fun to do. And I just read all of y'all's comments basically from the prior episode and the episode even before that, I think. But yeah, the analogy I made was like, it's chicken, right? Some people like their chicken this way, and some people like a little bit more seasoning, a little bit more flavor, right? And it's there's nothing wrong with it. Matt and Jess, I watched that channel, and it's mainly because they're like one of the bigger channels that actually puts out the Only Murders content first. And it's real easy to. I'm gonna be honest with you. Let's just keep it a buck, Chuck. It is super easy to do a discussion type of video where you're talking to another person and they never even look at it. I'm like, how do you do a video? You sit next to each other, you never look at each other, and I don't get it. I mean, never do like that. Never have a discussion. You're having a discussion with the camera. You're not having a discussion with yourself. Who are you talking? You just pretending the other person's not there, or that they just there, but they're a voice in your head. Like it. It's been a weirdness about me. It's not just them. This isn't me just calling out Matt and Jess about that, because it's just a little weird of a dynamic for anybody to do it. But it's also super easy to have this discussion, to talk in front of a camera for a few minutes, and then you just kind of edit it. They do one shots, which is great. Like they can talk for 30 minutes. That's impressive. But it's very easy to do that as compared to a show like this one, and like, another one is Double P Media, where you have to make all these edits and cuts, and you're intertwining this picture with this video, and you're doing all this animation stuff. Like it's very complicated to get everything condensed, get everything edited, and then get it pumped out, because you got to get approved by YouTube, and then you got to wait for your video to render in whatever video program that you're using. There's a lot of steps that go into it. And so all that to say, I think what I'm going to do is, while I have Ivan Montero on next week, I'm going to try to get a behind the scenes on his process, and I'm going to give a behind the scenes. I'll show y'all. It might be just like a minute or two, right? I just want to show y'all like how I do my scripts. Like, hey, here's all the clips that I'm using Adobe, right? So here's all the video clips, and you could get kind of a behind the scenes on really just like the amount of work that goes into making one of these episodes. All that to say, different flavors, different folks, different people, different styles. Whatever you like. Some people don't like me. Some people like Matt and Jess. Some people like movie files. Some people, you know what I mean? They like the quick recap where it has an AI voice. Whatever you're into, totally cool. But it's different strokes, different folks. But I want to give a behind the scenes just to show y'all, be like, hey man, like a lot of work. And I want to get these videos out as quickly as possible for y'all, because I love interacting with y'all. I love putting them out there. I love entertaining y'all. So yeah, I think that would be really cool. But thank you so much for stumbling upon me, Yana, and adding me to your YouTube list, even if that wasn't your intention going into the beginning of the new year, right? Or even into the beginning of the show. I'm so glad that you stayed. And for anybody else, this is probably a shared experience with a lot of y'all out there. Y'all just stumbled upon me, episode 2, 3, 4, 5, right up until maybe the end, right? Maybe you're new right now. I just want to show y'all like a little behind the scenes magic of how this all works. So great comment. Thank you so much, Anna. And thank you so much to everybody who sent in their comments. I really appreciate everybody for just taking time, interacting with each other. Again, it means the world to me. And I was y'all, before I started YouTubing, I was y'all. One of my favorite things would be seeing one of the channels that I follow, and maybe they read comments and getting my comment read or liked by them, or getting commented back. I know that feeling, right? I know what that's like. And I'm not a big channel either. It's me and a few other people. This team. We're not uber big, right? We're still growing, and I'm so glad that I have the opportunity right now to be able to interact with everybody, and that people even pay attention. Like, honestly, like I always say it, you guys make the show. Without y'all, there is no me, there is no channel. And I really mean that. So I've been there, and I know what it means. Some days you're like, damn, I need a little win. I get stuff going on in life. You get the comment read, liked, interacted with. It just brightens your day a little bit to know, like, hey man, like somebody's paying attention, and we're having fun, and it's just some entertainment stuff. And so I don't know, man. I feel for all of y'all, and I wish I could read every single one of y'all's comments every week. It's sort of a time condensed show some of the times. But I do read every one of y'all's, and I try to heart everybody's and comment and give my thoughts. So thank y'all, everybody in the comments. But for now, y'all know what time it is. It's so heartbreaking. Put a little sad face emoji in the comments if it's heartbreaking, because it really is. But for the last time, we are going to go to our suspect board and see how we did at the end of this season. So this is how we had our suspect board when we left off last week. We had Rex and Marshall separated, sort of a twin theory thing. But I was like, either way, no matter if it's a twin or if it's the same person, they're at the top. We had Rudy being a second killer, or Bev. There was no second killer. But we got Marshall right. We got the script part right. I felt like we got to win. But I just, even though we got the win, I wasn't completely satisfied, like Kenya said, right? Just like the meal that I had was not completely satisfied. I need some cheap junk food on the way home, to satisfy me. But that is so bad to say, especially with all the E. coli stuff. I haven't done McDonald's in a long time, so that's a positive, right? But back to this. Yeah, we had Marshall here with Rex. We wanted to cover all of our bases. There was no Dr. Maggie, like no more. But at least we had her here just to cover our bases. No more maybes from anybody. Yeah, like this is how it ended, right? And it's crazy too. And our probably not, we have all these people here. It's crazy because Melissa McCarthy was tagged for doing 2 episodes on IMDb. But it just goes to show you can't always believe what's on IMDb, right? Maybe she filmed a scene or 2, but she was not in the wedding part or anything like that. So I don't know if the scene got cut. And that was another thing. I think there was a lot of scenes that maybe got cut that would have pointed out that a little bit harder, that there were clues to show that Marshall was the killer a little bit more. And then also maybe scenes that like pointed the finger to somebody else that would have made sense. So I don't know. I think it all got lost in translation. But man, we done good. At least we got the killer at the top. Man, we done good. I'm happy. Are you happy? This is the way we landed. This was so much fun putting this together with y'all all throughout the season. We had people going up and down. Mostly though, we had Marshall and Bev. Wherever Marshall went, Bev went, right? They were them two from the first episode. They were in Highly Suspicious. And we kept them two together, even though we don't, Bev may still come up in the next season. I don't know. So even though we don't know everything about her, she still could be in the next season. Still could be a little suspicious. I don't know. But yeah, we essentially got it right. Again, count it as a win. Do you count it as a win? I feel good. I feel good. I don't feel like we cheated. Like we counted as a win. We got Marshall. He is Rex. What should we call him? We call him Rex P. Pope or Marshall Bailey. I don't know. I don't know. However, which way you want to swap their names, good old Rex Marshall, whoever you want to call him. Yeah, he's at the top. But yeah, everybody else. I want to shout out Sherry in the comments because for a while in the Highly Suspicious, I maybe put some actors like Zach Galifianakis and stuff, and she was like, "No way are the actors playing themselves going to be killers." So I listened to y'all. I listened to Sherry. I listened to the comments, and I try to like move people up and down based on that. It's not just that this is not a dictatorship, right? Like this is where all very much democracy. I'm listening to y'all in the comments. I'm talking through some theories because of y'all's ideas, and then we come together here and we see where the cards lay. So This is how the cards laid. We done good, y'all. That's all I can say as we end this. We done good. Y'all are awesome for helping me put this list together. But yeah, that is it for this episode. I want to thank everybody for tuning in this far. Again, bit of a longer episode, but y'all seem to enjoy it. So I didn't do this on purpose either. If I don't know how long this is going to be. I still have to edit it, but I've been recording for a hot minute. It says an hour 14. It's going to go on an hour 15 right now of just what I've been recording. So I got to compress all this together. But yeah, I appreciate all of y'all's time. Thank y'all so much for riding and dying with me, just like Oliver was with Charles on the ledge. Y'all are my ride or dies. I'm your ride or die. I love it. Thank y'all. And again, the ride's not over though. We have one more week together. So don't forget that. Drop every single comment. You got a question for me. You got a question for Ivan. Drop it below. I want to hear from y'all. He wants to hear from y'all. Again, we're going to go through as many comments as humanly possible. It might be an hour and a half long episode. Hopefully not two, but if it's two, would y'all mind anyways? Like one last, like me hearing from him, hearing from me. Like we probably both got a lot to say. I don't expect it to go 2 hours though, but maybe like an hour, hour and a half, something like that. We're going to aim for that. I really personally want to try and read as many of y'all's comments. I want everybody to get their shine. I want everybody to be included. In the meantime, though, feel free to follow the channel Nerds at Night on Twitter and on Instagram. If you reach out on Instagram, I'll definitely check your message. You can always reach out to me, Muddy Blakeweather. You just literally type that in Facebook or Instagram or Twitter or Snapchat. I'm on all the places. So feel free to reach out to me, add me as a friend. Let's be besties. Let's be ride or dies in IRL, as the kids say. Is it in IRL? If it's already in real, I don't know. I don't know the semantics about that. But I would love to hear from all of y'all personally. So that way we can keep talking. And then let me know too, any new murder mystery shows that may be coming out. Because there may be a bit of a drought between this season and whatever season that we do of another show. But I'll still be dropping videos and y'all can swing by and say hi like Wilson and Home Improvement. Feel free to do that. In the meantime, y'all know what to do. Do the comment thing. Want to hear from y'all. Reach out to me. But I'm going to say it for one last time for the season. I really appreciate y'all. I really love y'all. Thank y'all so much. No matter what time you're listening to this, whether it's morning, evening, afternoon, I don't care when. I do appreciate every single one of you, not just some number, not just some algorithm, but by name, by the people I interact in the comments. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. And until next week, I will see you. Peace.